Join me in a quick daydream. Close your eyes, imagine rolling hills and vineyards, a glass in your hand, and nowhere that you need to be. It sounds pretty dreamy, right? And if you want to make that dream a reality, head to Dundee. It's in the heart of Oregon's Willamette Valley, home of great wine and, most importantly, laid-back vibes. Right now, Travel Dundee is offering a spring discount for CityCast listeners. Visit traveldundee.com/citycast to unlock exclusive lodging promo codes for your next stay this spring. That's traveldundee.com/citycast. This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about.
We're almost done with our spring membership campaign. We've been sharing the perks of CityCast neighbors and asking for your support, and we have meant every word. CityCast Seattle only works because neighbors like you choose to invest in it. Our goal has always been simple: give you the information and context you need to show up for this city and engage more deeply with life here. Because when people feel genuinely connected to a place, they care about it. They invest in it. They become better neighbors. And when you become a CityCast Seattle neighbor, you're sustaining our work and joining a community of people who are committed to seeing local journalism that connects Seattle so we can all be better neighbors, which is a pretty damn cool thing. And I think it's worth all the bragging rights. But in my very biased opinion, today could be one of your last chances to get our gorgeous welcome gift, a custom Oxford pennant designed specifically for this city and the people who love it. It says, "I live here on purpose," because we do. Go to membership.citycast.fm/Seattle and join our neighborhood. We'd love to have you. I'm your fill-in host, Ashley Smith, and for today's show, we're talking about off-leash dog patrols ramping up and millions of dollars missing from the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. But first, let's talk about ebooks with Tom Fay, Chief Librarian at Seattle Public Library. Welcome, Tom.
Well, thank you very much.
And we're also joined by creative producer Sam J. Leeds. Hi, Sam.
Hi, excited to be here. The library is one of my favorite places, so this is a big moment for me.
So Seattle Public Library routinely lands in a list of the top 10 ebook circulating libraries in the world. The world. Seattle readers love them. And since COVID, more and more people check them out via the Libby app rather than coming into the library in person. I know a lot of my friends do that. And e-audio is also a part of this trend. So how does checking out an ebook work for the library? I've heard it's more expensive than when folks check out regular books. Is that true?
It is. Ebooks themselves are going to be sometimes between 2 and 3 times more than a physical book. We also have e-audio books that can be anywhere between 3, 5, 6 times more than a book. And so I'll give you a good example of one that's on the most popular demand right now, and that's Theo of Golden. And to give you an idea, the print book, we have 116 copies, and that has 645 holds, and that's cost us $1,438. Seems reasonable. You get to ebooks, we have 1,700 holds. We have 230 copies, and those cost us $13,797.
Oh my God.
Then you go to e-audio. We have a little over 2,000 holds. We have 272 copies, and those cost us $24,477.
Wow.
So it's a pretty major difference between the material types.
It's wild to hear those numbers as someone who just has a library card and gets to check these things out for free. There's so much money that goes into that. Why are ebooks so expensive for the library to keep in stock, I guess?
Well, it has a kind of a long history. I was around for most of it. Obviously, when you check out a physical book and the way libraries have done business all these years, it is based off what's called the Fair Use Act, which allows libraries to buy a copy and circulate it until the book's no longer usable. Mm-hmm. When ebooks started coming into play, it was after the whole music industry had all the digital challenges. And so when they put together the ebook platforms, they no longer used fair use as the model. It was software. And as software, it doesn't fall under fair use. And so the publishers at that time, made the decisions that we saw what happened in the music industry. We want to make sure that we're protecting, our authors, obviously our copyright, etc. Sometimes I think, publishers have seen us as competitors when in fact we're not. We're a gateway to all of their products, a lot of their authors, but also a lot of their mid-level authors and some of their very unknown authors.
And why are e-audiobooks so much more expensive than like the sort of print equivalent of the ebook?
I think we've seen that price go up probably over the last 5 to 7 years more than anything else because the demand is so much higher. Now you have everything you can listen to and see, obviously, as people are doom scrolling along the way.
Uh-huh. Where does that money go? Like, is any of that going back into the pockets of the authors, or is it mostly to the distributors?
So you have the publishers, then you have what we call the middleman, the people that provide Libby. And then, of course, the authors are in that as the creators. So the money does get back through that entire chain. We pay the middleman, publisher pays the author, and that's generally how that works.
Okay. Maybe I'm getting too technical here, but like, is the price increase coming from that middleman? Like, are they the one driving what the cost is?
That's sometimes the challenge. We don't get to know.
Okay.
Because as you might imagine, people are keeping their prices and what their wholesaling prices are, et cetera, quiet. So it is sometimes challenging for us to know, who is making the money. We want everyone to make a piece of that. We want our publishers to be successful. We most certainly want authors to be successful so they continue to write. And of course, the folks at Overdrive who provide Libby, we want them to be successful so the platform grows and that we have more and more content on it. I think what our challenge has been is that because the digital realm is all subscription based, we don't own anything at the end of the day, and it requires renewals. So, for example, in this book I just told you about, the Theo of Golden, that book could be very likely all the way into next year before we've satisfied all the patron requests for it, which means that maybe I bought that subscription on a 1 year and now I got to renew it. And now I got to renew it for a year, even though the tail of all the requests may end halfway through that. And now I'm carrying something that maybe isn't going to have as much need from patrons. That's what we want to talk to publishers about, is can we find other models that provide flexibility? Some models are you get 26 checkouts and then you have to go buy 26 more. So those are also very limiting, or can be too much. Again, if I get towards the tail of all the patron requests, then if I buy 26 more, I might have 24 of them sitting for a period of time, right? So that's what we're really looking at. And then how can we create in the future libraries that actually have some perpetual copies, meaning that if we subscribe to it, why can't we have a certain percentage of those back so that we can have a real virtual library versus this subscription-based model only?
If leasing those ebooks costs so much money, I'm thinking like when I go to the airport, I try to get an A+ in TSA by being very efficient and like proving that I know all the rules. And I'm trying to think of like, how can I be the best public library card holder? Like if I want to check out ebooks, does it help if I listen to them really fast and return them quicker, or does that not matter?
Let's say you want to request a book and maybe you're requesting it from us, maybe you're requesting it from the King County library system because you're just trying to get it the fastest, right? If you get it fulfilled in one way or another, or if you end up purchasing it, or whatever the case is, please take the hold off. Don't suspend it. Cancel the hold. Because what we do is we look at all of our holds as fulfillment needs. And so we buy against that fulfillment need. And that can drive things up if patrons go, oh, I just forgot about it. I finally got it. And then I didn't cancel that hold. And we're buying against that hold. The other thing is the print books are going to be there available as well. But we do want people to consume it in the way that's most convenient and accessible to them. So we try to fulfill on all those categories. It just becomes more and more difficult as we go through time and the prices increase on some of these. And
there is a digital hold limit, right?
There is.
What is that?
actually reduced the hold limit down to 10. That's how we manage a lot of this, so that we don't get people that are maybe the rare exception that are putting in 25, 30 holds, and then we're buying against that when in fact they've maybe fulfilled it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's helped us manage, especially the high demand material, those top 10 best-selling books that everybody wants to read right now. That really has helped us considerably, and that's allowed us to meet our high demand better than we had in the past, because it was getting to the point it was not sustainable at all to maintain high demand items.
So I kind of feel like, based on what you've said, I know what your answer to this question is going to be. But when we were talking about this conversation in our morning meeting, we were like, oh, we have to ask Tom this, which is, there's an ongoing debate on our team, and we want you to settle the score on it. Does listening to audiobooks count as reading?
Yes, listening to audiobooks does count as reading. I think there is a traditional sense that it doesn't, and it couldn't be any farther from the truth. Because it actually engages your brain in different ways, especially as you think about generations and changing. I grew up without cell phones or all of this stuff, right? So I'm very comfortable reading with that. I have a daughter who, she couldn't imagine anything more boring. She consumes audiobooks because it activates her brain and her curiosity differently than mine reading in a traditional sense. So it is reading, and it counts.
All right, exactly. That debate is done, squashed.
For all intents and purposes, we want you reading anyway, anyhow, and we're happy to provide that service at the Seattle Public Library.
Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the audit that found millions missing in public funds. Hey, Seattle, if you've ever wanted to see our Pacific Northwest whales, this is your moment. FRS Clipper Whale Watching is the only whale and wildlife tour departing from right in downtown Seattle. And this year, for their 40th anniversary, they're launching a brand new catamaran, the Emerald Clipper. It was built right here in Washington State, and it's designed for comfort and incredible views with spacious outdoor decks, floor-to-ceiling windows, and onboard naturalists who help you actually understand what you're seeing aboard this floating classroom. Out on the Salish Sea, you might encounter humpbacks feeding, killer whales hunting, gray whales cruising, plus bald eagles and seals and sea lions. It's not just a tour, it's a full wildlife experience. And they have a whale sighting guarantee, so if you don't see whales, you'll get a complimentary tour to use in the future. Spots fill quickly as the season ramps up, so don't wait. In fact, Sam and I have already booked our trip, and we cannot wait. You can book early too. Just go to whalewatching.com. That's whalewatching.com.
Seattle's tastiest tradition is back. Seattle Restaurant Week is happening April 19th to May 2nd, and for 2 weeks, diners are invited to explore our diverse and innovative local food scene. This year, there are over 260 restaurants participating, and they're offering special curated menus highlighting their signature dishes and chef's picks. These menus are priced at $20, $35, $50, and $65, so you can find a restaurant, bar, cafe, food truck, or pop-up across the greater Seattle area that fits your budget, or maybe it just gives you an excuse to splurge a little bit. Personally, I love having a reason to explore new spots, and eating out during Restaurant Week supports our entire local food economy, in addition to the restaurants themselves, the producers, and food purveyors that they source from. Participating locations are also donating portions of their proceeds towards free community meals. Head to srweek.org to see an up-to-date listing of all participating restaurants and, most importantly, their menus.
So news broke last week that the King County Regional Homelessness Authority's finances are in shambles. The agency can't account for millions of dollars in public funds. Erica C. Barnett has been following this closely and covering the story for Public Cola. Welcome, Erica.
Great to be here.
So for people who haven't been following this at all, can you give us a bit of a spark notes for this story? What's going on?
Well, the King County Regional Homelessness Authority is an agency that combines funding from the city of Seattle and King County and some other outside sources to run the region's homelessness system. So the city and county contribute money, and they do all of the contracts, they do the accounting, and they essentially are like a pass-through agency for that money. What this audit found, and technically it's a forensic evaluation, not an audit, but let's just call it an audit for simplicity. What it found was that the agency was unable to account for $8 million in spending. It was also, in addition to that, unable to account for about $4 million, a little more than $4 million of overspending in its administrative budget. And then on top of that, there was also an overspend of $6 million that had been reported previously. So, we're talking near $20 million in funding that has kind of gone missing or that was overspent in some way.
Yeah, that's so much money. I'm glad you explained that because I had seen different numbers from like 8 to 13 million, depending on like what story I was reading. That's truly bizarre.
It's a pile, yeah.
You'd mentioned in your coverage that, a lot of the stories are focusing on this dollar amount. But that there's like a lot more going on within the agency. What were some of the other things that stood out to you when you were reading through the audit?
Well, one of the things that really jumped out is that they were sort of shuffling money through funds in a way that obscures where the money came from and where it went. So, for example, I gave a hypothetical example because they didn't get into really specific examples, but like a purely hypothetical example would be like if they got federal funding to pay for shelter, put it into this fund, this repository, and then borrowed that money from the fund for something that, was like a state grant for diversion programs because they didn't have the money at the time, and then put it back in and used the repository ultimately for the right purpose. That is misuse of restricted funds, and it's, potentially illegal. And I mean, if you've ever like worked for or run a nonprofit, I worked for a nonprofit for a while, and you have to really segregate your funding. You can't just like take in, say, 501c3 money, which is, not supposed to be for political purposes, and then use it to campaign, for example. So it's kind of like that. They are, we're routinely doing things like this. And also doing, this is slightly unrelated, but I was introduced to this phrase, pre-spending, which is not a phrase I had heard before. They were pre-spending money that they didn't have yet. And sometimes it would be money that like wasn't even budgeted for yet. So the city of Seattle was maybe going to provide money for, XYZ purpose, but they didn't know yet. And the budget didn't exist for it yet, but they would pre-spend it on the, I guess, assumption and belief that it would come in eventually. So, I mean, just a lot of really bad accounting practices. It is pretty transparently obvious that if you are pre-spending money you don't have and it's taxpayer money, that's extremely risky.
Yeah, that feels like something I would have done when I first started freelancing, where I was like, I got a contract for a job and I was like, oh, that money's coming soon. So I'll like, go buy myself a thing. And then the contract gets voided or whatever. And you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's how I used credit cards in college.
Exactly.
Yep.
You would hope that government agencies, particularly for vulnerable populations, would not be treating money this way. This agency was created as a regional approach to dealing with homelessness, and to see that like across multiple mayoral administrations at this point, this kind of practice has just continued is, I want to say surprising, but also I did some reporting for Cascade PBS back when they still did investigative reporting on a program that the Office for Homeless Youth was running. And it had very similar practices happening where like funds were being parked in places they shouldn't have been parked. Things were being pre-spent. Things were being billed for that hadn't actually been dispersed yet. And the office that was running this was unaware of this until we reported on it and sort of said like, hey, what's going on here? So I wanted to be surprised by this, but it was so familiar to me with this much smaller case that was, I think, $330,000 of taxpayer dollars, where I was like, wow, this is really echoing.
Well, yeah, if you think about the fact that this is like a $205 or so million agency, and $14 million plus the other $6 million, that's 10% of their budget. I mean, that is like a tremendous amount of money to go unaccounted for. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that stood out to me in this audit was that the accounting practices seemed really casual. for such a large agency. I mean, not only were they sort of using Excel spreadsheets to do a lot of reconciliation instead of NetSuite, which is their software that they had, they were doing things like reconciling stuff over chat and through emails. And there's a reference in here to like institutional knowledge being how they communicated accounting practices and like, shifting money around. And that's not good. You don't want everything to rely on, one person like staying at an agency. And they also changed items in Excel spreadsheets, according to the report, thousands of times over the period that they looked at. And so it would be perhaps the same person who was going in and like entering, this amount of cash was spent on whatever, and then going back in and changing it, deleting it, editing it. And in some cases, it would be they found that the same person was in charge of entering cash and then validating that the cash was spent properly, which is not a good practice for pretty obvious reasons.
So lawmakers are drawing up a joint resolution to dissolve this agency now, which feels like the nuclear option. If it were to go away, what would this mean for addressing homelessness in the county?
Well, first I'll say, this agency was controversial to begin with. I think, and I have talked a lot about how I don't think that you need like a special agency to do regionalism. So what would happen? So the agreement that set up the agency between the city and county says that they have to take a year to wind it down. So it's not something that would happen right away. It would take, basically a year to take all the contracts and redistribute them. Most of them were at the City of Seattle's Human Services Department, so they would have to go back there. And of course, like the whole infrastructure of the Human Services Department that dealt with homelessness has been dismantled. And so they'd have to set that up again and do the same thing at the county. It's possible that they will come up with some other way of doing that and it'll change, but that's sort of the baseline scenario if they decide to actually shut down the agency, which I think they probably, I mean, if not now, soon, that would be my prediction, just because there has been talk of dismantling this agency long before this audit came out and long before these findings. And so I think that the momentum is in that direction right now, but we'll see.
Gotcha.
I'm curious, Mayor Wilson has said that homelessness is kind of one of her key priorities. And we've seen, her struggling to meet some of the really ambitious goals that she set around setting up shelter and all of these kinds of things before the World Cup. How do you think that this particular issue is going to impact sort of the larger trajectory for her administration around addressing homelessness?
Well, I don't think that it will directly impact her shelter plan for one really specific reason. She has already sort of pulled out of engaging with the Homelessness Authority on that. And they've given they've given reasons for that. But I think it's partly that they knew this audit was coming and that the agency might not still be there. But the 4,000 units of shelter that she has said she's going to build in her first term, those are all going through the city. And none of it is being run through KCRHA right now. So she can do that no matter what happens with KCRHA. It's just a matter of all the other challenges you mentioned, getting land, getting funding, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that she made a calculated choice when deciding to go with the shelter plan to just cut the KCRHA out entirely. And, it's looking like it was a smart choice.
Yeah.
Since the beginning, this agency has really been crippled by the fact that it can't raise its own funds. And I think that is on the city and the county when they set it up. And that's kind of why I was skeptical of the whole concept to begin with. So, they're a pass-through agency. They're also an agency that the city and county get to kick around whenever homelessness solutions fail because those programs are no longer at the city and the county. And so, in fairness to them, they didn't have sort of the main element of creating a successful homelessness system. The city tells them what to do, the county tells them what to do, and they have to do it. So I think they were set up to fail in a bigger, more global way from the beginning. This forensic audit is obviously, terrible news and very damning. But I think that the overall structure of it was never designed to succeed in the first place.
Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us and for covering this and all of your coverage on Public Holo. We're big fans of your work.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss our city's problem with off-leash dogs. I feel like you either really care about rules and laws when it comes to dogs in our city, or you just do not care at all. There's no in between. For example, dogs aren't allowed on beaches, but we often see them at Golden Gardens. Seattle actually requires dogs to be leashed in most public spaces, allowing off-leash activity only in designated areas, though enforcement has been pretty inconsistent on that. But now the city says it's increasing enforcement and getting stricter about off-leash dogs, and they're doing that by expanding animal control staffing and relying on 26 park rangers who patrol hundreds of parks and enforce those rules, including leash laws. Joining us is Liam Billingham, creative producer. Welcome, Liam.
Ruff, ruff.
No,
Resident
Liam,
dog.
absolutely not.
Stop it.
Unbelievable. So off-leash fines in Seattle typically start at $54 for a first offense in city parks. This is according to the Seattle Animal Shelter. Fines increase for more offenses, with costs rising to $109 for a second offense, $136 for a third, and $162 or more for further violations. Sam, Liam, have either of you ever been issued an off-leash fine?
I don't currently own a dog,
Same.
so that would be a little bizarre. But
That would be.
Yeah. But I feel like if I did have a dog, at least in parks and places, I would have my dog on leash.
You gotta
Like,
leash the dog.
Yeah.
You know.
You gotta.
I
have
was
to agree on
tackled
this.
by a dog in a park as a child and rolled down a hill. And
Oh my God.
honestly, I was fine, except for the fact that I was a nerd and allergic to grass. And so I broke out in hives. But
It wasn't the dog that got you. It was the
No,
earth.
it was the grass.
Yeah.
It was just existing. But, you know, I'm very pro dog being on leash.
Yeah, I was once almost attacked by a dog in a park, and I grew up with dogs, and that really turned me off dogs for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
ripped my shirt and
Understandable.
stuff before the owner got a hold of it. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh
my
it's,
gosh.
they should be leashed, yes.
Yeah, why not just leash your dog? It's so simple. It helps prevent accidents, attacks, and honestly, dog poop everywhere, which is a whole separate problem altogether. But yeah, if your dog's not on a leash and it runs off and you're not paying attention to it, odds are it's going to poop somewhere and you're not going to pick it up.
I'm open to hearing an argument for why I shouldn't leash my dog, but it's going to be pretty hard to convince me otherwise.
Well, I do feel for folks that don't have a yard. Like a lot of people live in apartments, condos,
Yeah.
houseboats. And so like multiple times a day, you have to take your dog out, hopefully on leash to like go to the bathroom, but also to get some exercise. And so I think like going to whatever park is closest to you, taking them off leash, throwing a ball for them, I can understand why that would be appealing and the best option if you're like, you have a busy day and like, I have 20 minutes to exercise my dog. Like, this is all I can do. I've never received a fine for my dog, but I've also never had my dog off leash. I have witnessed someone get a warning for this at Gasworks with my boyfriend and his dog. He was actually the one that got the warning.
Someone.
Didn't know you dated a criminal, Ashley.
I know. He's such a bad boy. And
He's the bad boy of dog owners.
well, his dog has, now I'm going to give him the excuse. His dog has excellent recall, which I think is another reason why people don't leash their dogs is they think, well, my dog is really well trained. It's friendly and it will come if I call it. But the funny thing about this exchange was the ranger or patrol person who actually gave the warning was in a truck driving through the walkway, like going like where people bike and walk to go through Gasworks. And they were using a bullhorn, which is kind of funny. It just felt like the most Seattle way to approach conflict like this, like giving out a
Put the
warning.
dog on a leash. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
Exactly.
Like, I won't approach conflict unless I absolutely have the upper hand.
I will
Yeah.
say, I'll be at a park over here in Queen Anne, and it'll be like a big soccer field, and a woman will be throwing her ball, and the dog will be running back. There's no one there. I'm not going to be like, hey, but like Gasworks, where there's kids all the time, and it's like very densely
busy.
populated. Like, that's not a park to bring your dog to run it.
No. Another reason why people might be doing this is just that there's not enough dog parks in our city. We actually only have 14 off-leash dog parks.
That's not a lot.
Though I know I was actually shocked at this number. Though Parks and Rec has said that they plan to open 2 more in 2027, which is good. Maybe they can take the money from these new off-leash citations, put that towards opening more dog parks.
That's a good
but
idea. Yeah.
Right? But we need more dog parks. If you feel like you're comfortable enough with your dog being off leash, meaning I assume you think it's friendly and well-mannered, then that's a dog you can take to a dog park, baby. So we just need more dog parks.
To give a comparison point that might piss some people off, there are 106 schools in the Seattle public school system, and rumor has it that there are more dogs in Seattle than there are children. So obviously children deserve resources. That's not the point of comparison that I'm making.
Wow.
But the fact that there are so few dog parks, fewer dog parks than there are public schools, is kind of wild considering the population of dogs that apparently lives in the city.
Dogs and children do have different needs, even though their
Sure.
needs at a young age are very similar, which is like food and ability to poop and eat.
And places to run around.
Right, exactly. But
Yeah.
you can't leash a kid. I guess you
I've
can.
seen
When you see
people
those
do it.
daycares, yeah, well, some kids need a leash. But you'll see them walking along and they're like strapped in. That's pretty adorable. But yeah.
Oh my God. When people are like, the daycares are walking the kids on a rope. It's so cute.
Yeah, we get pictures of our kids doing that sometimes.
I used to work right by the preschool down by Pike Place, and they would walk the kids around like those really steep hills on a rope, and the kids would be like holding on like mountaineers, and it was so cute.
I do want to know if we still have more dogs than kids. I know that was, I don't know how you take
How
a
would you
census
figure that
for
out?
that.
Yeah,
A
a dog survey? Imagine
But
doing a
I-
dog census.
Where you like ask the dogs?
You like go to the door and you're like, how many dogs are in the house? Can I see the dog? Can I pet your dog?
Can I
not.
pet your dog is an essential part of the
Dog census. Yeah, you gotta check for ticks.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I was thinking just like softness.
Yeah,
Like
well,
on a scale
that
of 1
too.
to 10,
I mean,
how soft is the dog in the house,
Yeah,
you know?
we don't get
that
a lot
might be
of ticks
rude
here.
to include in the dog census that we've decided we're having in Seattle.
How soft your dog is?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I love a wiry dog, like a little scruffy terrier type.
Oh,
like
scruggly?
so cute.
The
Yeah.
best. So I'm definitely biased on the subject of off-leash dogs because my dog is very small. He's a 15-pound little Chihuahua mix.
Snake.
And he's a snake. He's just a baby. He is always on leash. He has a harness that he cannot get out of. I am 1000% a helicopter dog parent. So like he's not off leash ever because I won't allow it. But also if your giant aggressive dog is off leash and attacks him, that would be traumatizing for everyone involved. And so I get really stressed when I see off-leash dogs. And I do in Ballard all the time. And when I lived in Queen Anne, it was actually a nightmare. During that time, I had a system for taking my dog on a walk. So I guess if you're also someone with a small dog and need some tips, here you go. So I would wear boots or closed-toed shoes every time I took my dog on a walk, even in the summer. I couldn't be caught in my Birkenstocks because like I might need to run or like kick or stomp or something. Like I had to be able to like defend my
Like
dog.
Snake's bodyguard.
Yeah, basically.
Snake guard.
His name is tough, but he is not. I would bring pepper spray and my phone with me no matter what, just in case I needed to use the pepper spray or just in case I needed to call for help or something.
Wow, in the tough streets of Queen Anne, huh?
I know this sounds ridiculous, but I swear it was a
All
problem.
those dogs hanging out by Targies.
I also refused to wear headphones while walking my dog because if I don't see something, at least hopefully I'll hear it or a person or something. Like I just could not be caught like off guard. And I had an escape plan, which was if a dog was running up to my dog, I would pick up Snake and like throw him in someone's backyard. That can be risky though. I don't know what's back
Yeah,
there.
what if there's a dog back there?
Exactly. So my other option was to throw him in a trash can because the trash cans are always
What if someone comes
like-
and takes the trash can at that moment? Ashley.
Did you ever have to throw him in a trash can, Ashley?
No, but I was scared. But it's like if I just pick him up, like a big dog can still jump and like grab and bite. So it's like if I put him in a trash can, close the lid, and then like hopefully the other dog will run away or something. I don't know.
Or
But that was
absolutely
like
get him
plan.
No one can
fisticuffs.
bully my dog except me. And by bully, I mean put him in a trash can.
I'm trying to keep
These
him
are all
safe.
It's for
incredibly
your own good, Snake.
Yeah.
These are all incredibly helpful tips because I received a letter. I live in Queen Anne and I received a letter on April 21st of this week.
Oh.
Can I read it to you guys?
Yes.
Please.
You'll very quickly know who it's from. Dear Mom and Dad,
Okay.
I know you don't think we should get a dog, but I really want one, in parentheses, golden retriever, end parens. These are the reason we should get a dog. First, they make me happy.
Oh, that's a convincing reason.
Second, they are adorable.
Also
So
convincing.
Last, and in parens, this is just me. Glad that she didn't say third. I like the variety. Last, I care about them. Can we please get a dog? Period. Love, my daughter, who wrote us a letter asking, and walked into the kitchen and put it on the counter, looked at me and walked out. So
she said, these are my terms.
These are the terms. I might have to get a dog, I think.
Is it going to be a golden retriever?
Oh yeah, I grew up with golden retrievers. I love them, but they shed.
Yeah.
And
they're kind of large.
They're large. The big thing I'm worried about is like having to get up in the middle of the night with a puppy.
Oh,
And
puppies
travel.
are rough.
Rescue an adult dog.
Yeah, don't get a puppy.
That's not a bad idea.
My childhood dog was a rescue, and he was the best.
Well, that's a good tip. I hadn't thought of that. And for anyone else thinking about to get a dog, maybe look into a rescue rather than getting a new dog.
For sure. Adopt, don't shop. Is that what it is? I haven't said that in a while.
A new dog is really hilarious. Get a used dog.
Get a used dog. Lightly used. You know what? Everyone deserves a home.
That's very funny. But also leash your dog and clean up its poop.
Also that.
Yeah. Just to recap, if you don't usually leash your dog, you might want to watch out for some fines.
You're going to get
soon.
served.
Or at least a warning from a dude in a truck with a bullhorn. So heads up on that.
He's out there.
He is out there.
Out there. All right. That's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. I'm your fill-in host, Ashley Smith. Listeners, we want to hear from you. Send us your news tips, your questions, your hot goss, or your thoughts about off-leash dogs by sending an email to seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. If you're still on the fence about becoming a neighbor, here's why Sammy V joined our membership program. I listen to CityCast every day. The guests are great. The topics are what I want to hear about. I love local news and I want to invest in it and see it thrive for decades to come. Plus, I love the sound of Jane's voice. Ugh, don't we all? And good news, Sammy. Jane returns tomorrow, our beloved host. Rap air horns forever. Help me impress her by getting us closer to our membership goal. You can join right now for $10 a month or $100 a year. Just go to membership.citycast.fm/Seattle. And if you missed that URL, just look for it in our show notes. Until next time, see you, Seattle.